If you're a woman in retail looking to grow your career, connect with industry leaders, and recharge in a supportive community, the Women in Retail Leadership Summit is the event for you. And to all of our male listeners, if you know an amazing female colleague who would benefit from this experience, be sure to pass the word along. Happening at the beautiful Ritz-Carlton Amelia Island on April 28th through the 30th, registration is now open at womeninretailsummit.com.
I'm Melissa Campanelli. I'm the co-founder of the Women in Retail Leadership Circle. We are a group of senior level women in the retail industry. We're a membership organization and we're thrilled to be partnering with RELA. We are recording live from the Retail Industry Leadership Association's LINC, the Retail Supply Chain Conference in beautiful Orlando. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Raina Avalon, the Executive Vice President and Chief Logistics Officer at the TJX companies. Welcome, Raina.
Thank you.
In her current role, Raina leads end-to-end supply chain improvements and strategy development at TJX. Previously, she served as Vice President of Logistics at Cisco, where she oversaw a network of more than 220 distribution centers serving over 450,000 customers. And she's also had leadership roles at Family Dollar and Dollar General. So today we're going to dive into Raina's leadership style, her career journey, and more. So with that, Raina, you've worked across several industries like retail, food service distribution, which I just mentioned, logistics. How has that diverse experience shaped your leadership style?
Well, Melissa, I would say that over the years, number one, I think the maturity has helped. Having each of the different organizations that I worked in, I've picked up different skill sets along the way. But I would say that I probably formed my personal mission in life when I was at Dollar General. Oh. And that was really about serving others. So that has been really I would say my leadership style is servant leadership. So really focused on how do I help enable the team to be successful, and that has helped in all of the organizations that I work for, and I wouldn't change that for a minute.
I love that servant leadership. That comes up so often in with our group. So many of our great members talk about servant leadership and the importance of it. Mm-hmm. And maybe that can kind of tie into the next question, which is why is servant leadership so important in the supply chain and logistics industry or logistics departments and companies?
If you think about end-to-end supply chain, it's a very vast and large encompassing space. And I think you can't make all the decisions as a leader, so you really have to give autonomy to your teams. So really helping to determine what are the resources and the tools that they need to be successful, and being able to turn around and ask them on an ongoing basis what it is that they need. That is going to enable them to make better decisions and not be reliant upon their leaders. So I think it's really important to be able to provide those resources so that they can make the decisions closest to the action, and that enables better business performance.
That's great. And that kind of ties into my next question, which is, what are some strategies that you turn to building strong teams?
So what I would say around the team side that I think is really important is communication. I think what you have to do is really spend time and get to know your people. That takes more time than many people feel they have as leaders. They want to get down to results. And they often forget that they really need to help communicate what that long-term vision is and strategy for their teams. So I think communication, number one, to be able to set that vision for the group, to help enable them to understand what it is they need to accomplish, is critical. So I think that number one is probably what I would say. First strategy is to help communicate and ensure that they're understanding the broader picture so that, again, they're motivated, they understand that they're actually part of that action and can enable success.
Yeah, and that kind of ties in to what you were saying earlier, and maybe you can expand upon this a little bit, but your team does have to be prepared to adapt and succeed in such a fast-paced environment in supply chain and in retail in general. I mean, is there anything you can talk to around nuances around that, just staying really agile, or how to help your team be prepared for that kind of an environment?
Yes, I think that as the word I would say that resonates with everyone these days is uncertainty. We are experiencing more uncertainty and disruptions than we ever have. And I don't expect that those are going to stop. I think that those are going to continue, and it's going to be really important as leaders to help ensure that the team is prepared. So what can they put in their toolkits to put them in a position to be able to respond to those disruptions, to be able to move and shake things up when they need to. And I think it's, again, how do we help get them to think about what is that longer term? How can they put better tools in their toolkit so that it's not reactionary, it's more of a planned response. And I think that's going to be very important going forward.
Yeah. It's so hard to plan for uncertainty, though. But I mean, I guess it's just something that you have to be agile and...
Right. I think it's just looking for what are the different things that you can put in. So try to come up with scenarios that you may feel you could encounter, and what would be your responses, and then being able to build that criteria so that you're better prepared when those things do arise. You've got something to reference. So I think, when we went through COVID, I would say it was a huge example for us in terms of spotting something that we had no idea was going to come, but then we had to choose the way we reacted to it.
That's a great way to look at it. I love that. And yeah, COVID's a whole nother podcast. Let's talk about motivation too. I mean, I feel like retailers they've dealt with so much over the past few years since COVID. How do you keep your team excited to come to work? Motivated, excited to be there. It's such a difficult environment that we're in.
I would agree. It can be kind of a losing proposition. On some days you can feel that way. So I do think it's important, number one, to celebrate the wins. So I would say even during COVID, people were going through some very difficult times, whether they were facing tragedy at home or they were, just afraid. And I think the time that we spent to talk with them and understand how were they feeling and getting them to know that we cared was really critical in helping them stay motivated and engaged. And I think that's what I would say that I created back in those times, and I've kept that process up ever since, speaking to each and every member of the team 2 or 3 times a year.
Wow.
And I do that in roundtables, and that's allowed me to, number one, understand how they're feeling. Do they have the right resources? Are there things that they need? And then giving them, again, some guidance and some thank you for the work that they've been doing and to keep them motivated for the next project, et cetera. That's really helped, I would say, in keeping them, feeling like they're engaged, but celebrating the wins and being able to speak to those on an ongoing basis with them has been critical in keeping them excited.
So you sort of have, just to get a little into the weeds there, because it's so useful information, do you sort of have like a roundtable meeting? Is it on Zoom? Is it with a certain department?
So I do most of them on Teams. We have people in the field, and so I have to do it, and I try to do it in groups of 8 to 12. Give each and every one of them a chance to tell me 2 things. I ask them how they're doing personally, and then how are they doing professionally. And just those 2 questions have allowed me to gain a really good understanding about how they're feeling. And then also I'll ask them, probe a little bit to understand, do they have the right resources? Could we do a better job of communicating? It allows me to get feedback on how we're showing up as leaders, and then understand what are the things that we may need to adjust to help enable them to be, again, more motivated and engaged.
I love that, how they're doing personally, how they're doing professionally. I mean, so many times they are tied together, even though everyone tries to say it's different, but I love that. That's great. You clearly are passionate about leadership, mentorship, and I would love to talk to you, since this is a Women in Retail podcast, what you do for women in traditionally male-dominated fields in terms of mentorship. I mean, can you talk about empowering the next level of leaders that might want to get into the supply chain area?
So what I think is important, I've told the stories of when I first started, and we won't go back to how many years that is because no one here would probably remember. But what I would say is that I remember being in a room with 350 men and 1 other woman when I first started. And I would say that was somewhat intimidating and wondering, gee, how am I going to fit into this group? And I think over the years, at the beginning, when I was younger, I probably made some poor decisions because I wanted to fit in. I wasn't necessarily trying to establish my own leadership style and those kinds of things. And it's probably why I'm so adamant about the mentoring and sponsorship, because had I had people who leaned into me with that kind of offering, I think my life might be somewhat different. So now what I try to do is offer that back to those that I have working alongside me and outside. I often mentor other people outside the organization as well. But I think that's probably what I would say is for women in particular, be authentic. It's hard sometimes because you want to fit in, particularly in organizations that may be male-dominated. But I think you bring something to the table that they don't have.
Yes.
And making sure that you're leveraging your own talents. So I often talk about some of the attributes of leaders, and I think one of the ones that probably resonates with me the most is self-awareness, and really helping understand what are the attributes that you have and the skill sets, and what are your gaps. Because what you want to do is find other people to come onto your team that can close that gap, and you can create a better team because you're really looking at complementary skill sets and support that can really help, again, drive results and, again, bring them success as well.
So true. Diversity of thought. That's just as important as all diversity. I love that. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit. When I was reading through your bio, I learned a lot about all of your nonprofit work. And I know that you're involved in so many great organizations, The Root Cause, Seeds of Hope, Team Burundi. What's been the most rewarding part of your work in these groups? And that's what I would love to know.
So I would say probably one of the most rewarding opportunities I had was working in human trafficking. And I got motivated because I saw a speaker there was another speaker when I was at Rice University, and I was sharing my story. And I learned about a woman who was an attorney, and she'd actually been attacked in her home by someone who she had put into jail, had organized someone to come and attack her. So I got very interested listening to her. As a result of that, I leaned into a couple of partners at work and was able to get them just as excited as I was to fight human trafficking. We had a fleet of 11,000 drivers at that time, so we had the ability to influence drivers to make them more aware of what's happening on the human trafficking side.
What an interesting
And we're able to get them through also support from another organization. They had done that, so I leaned into that organization. The partner and I that worked on the human trafficking, he and I actually worked alongside the mayor's office in Houston, as well as the governor's office in Austin, Texas. And we're able to help come alongside them to write policy. So that was probably by far one of my most rewarding experiences, was really to be able to work alongside them.
And what is the group that you work with that's involved in human trafficking? Is it Team Burundi, or what's the name of it?
Now, there's several groups and organizations.
Okay.
There's TAT, there's the Truckers Against Trafficking. There's several groups that I actually have leaned into and worked with, but generally speaking, it's been also Red M, which is a group of professionals, particularly in supply chain, that are leaning into how can we fight human trafficking. So Red M is probably the one I would say is most prevalent in this industry.
It makes so much sense in this industry to be involved in that cause. Perhaps we'll do some more research and look into those groups and see if there's any way we can help as well at Women in Retail. I know you've also been involved with the Girl Scouts. Can you share a memorable moment from your work with them? And
Sure.
Were you a Girl Scout? Or?
I was a Girl Scout. My mother was a Girl Scout leader.
Oh, wow.
So I was very tied to the organization. And I actually had some young boys that I had started tutoring when I was in Nashville. And I really wanted to do something when I moved to Charlotte that was focused on young women. So the Girl Scouts made total sense to me because of my background. And so I was able to work with them really on, I would say, more of a traditional, how do we raise money, the funding that we needed to provide, as well as building the strategy for the girls. What was the long-term picture that we needed to put together to help enable the right programs to enable their success? So I would say that it was the strategy. I worked with an incredible group on the board. There was 22 of us, and from very diverse backgrounds, and so I think that really helped us because we had a lot of different input and feedback, and we were able to do some things for the programs there that were quite successful. We had to move our camp. We were getting encroached by the city, and we needed to take the camp and put it in another location. So working with a real estate provider and the board, really enabling this new location in terms of the campsite was probably the one I feel the most accomplished about. It was great, a lot of fun.
So many of our members have been Girl Scouts. It's so great to hear. Okay, well, we only have a few minutes, so I would just love to talk to you a little bit about, just in general, you're looking ahead, if there's any general trends or challenges that you see, shaping the future of supply chain and logistics in general.
Sure. Well, what I would say is, first and foremost, my team knows, they've heard it from me for years, talent is number one. We're facing some unbelievable, again, uncertainty and some things that we've not faced in the past. We have to have the right talent, so that is number one to me. So you really can't do much else unless you're really looking at your talent. So I'd say that's got to be first. So really thinking about, as supply chain leaders, what are we doing around building the right teams that are going to be able to effectively improve what we're seeing from a supply chain standpoint? So I'd say that's first, and then really, again, looking for the attributes in those leaders that you really believe are going to help enable that long-term strategy. So I think it's, again, taking time, stepping back, assessing your talent, and then figuring out how do you find those gaps, and then look for that talent that can help you cover some of that space. And then ensure that, again, your teams are excited about where you're headed, that they understand that we're going to continue to see the disruption. Making sure you're setting the right expectations for them, I think is going to be critical. And then again, I always use the term, get a partner. So I think it's oftentimes as leaders, we feel pressed to try and deliver the solution. And really, we're not meant to deliver the solution, we're helped to guide others to the solution. So I think that's going to be really important, is to be able to, again, step back and say, what do I need to do for the team that is going to allow them to find those solutions? And how do I come alongside them to be their cheerleader and root for them as we continue to press forward?
Spoken like a true leader. I love it. Thank you so much, Raina. It was so great to have you on the Women in Retail Talks podcast. Thanks to everyone in the audience listening in. And we're so excited to be here at RELA. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please go to womeninretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review our show. Lastly, if you're a female retail leader interested in joining our community at Women in Retail Leadership Circle, visit womeninretail.com/apply. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.
Female retail leaders, join us at the Women in Retail Leadership Summit from April 28th through the 30th at the Ritz-Carlton, Amelia Island, Florida. It's 3 days of insights, networking, and inspiration. Male listeners, share this with your female colleagues. Register at womeninretailsummit.com.